Hi, in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to do research in artificial intelligence if you're not a PhD. Hi, I'm Shelly and this is my channel, YouTube channel, AI Economics. I'm a professor of artificial intelligence and I teach artificial intelligence concepts with a corporate and business management lens. If you're interested in this kind of content, please do consider subscribing and also hit the like button for this video and the bell icon to be notified about new videos. So, to understanding how and why to do a PhD. Doing a research paper rather, is a big value add. However, there are various problems to it. How to start is probably the first. It's absolutely overwhelming. In today's world, there is an exponential amount of research papers which are being uploaded to various preprint platforms such as ArcXIV, Papers with Code, ResearchGate. How do you keep up with these? How do you read them? The task seems absolutely impossible, let alone trying to figure out what to do. The second thing is, how do you align a topic? How to narrow down into doing something that you are interested in and where you can actually carry out a research and make a contribution. Again, a very difficult task if you do not have a research supervisor. The third thing is, if you've somehow managed to pick up a topic, how to work on a research project or paper. This is the topic for today. So coming into a business management school analytics department has meant that I've also faced the pressure to do research, and hence this video in many ways is a reflection of my journey and my challenges that I have faced. Basically, my experience was that I decided to pick a small topic. So the topic part was covered. I decided to just do a review of machine learning and artificial intelligence applications in a particular domain area. Fairly straightforward, and you would have thought to be a simple enough paper to do. However, a couple of months down the line, where I have gone round and round in circles, I am constantly revising. There is an endless survey of literature and not even a badly written first draft of a paper out. I realized at this point that there was something missing. Now, for example, there are many productive research scientists in the world. As I deep dived into it deeper, I came across some research top papers on the topic of research productivity. I found some of the insights on these to be helpful. However, I wanted to have a more detailed insight into what is it that really prolific and productive scientists do that is different. And for that, I needed to even understand what is the research process. Now, the most important thing I learned was that research, whether it be a hard science or a social science or artificial intelligence, follows similar principles and processes. Some of these are imbibed by people in PhD programs, hence they seem to know about these things. But very rarely is this very important aspect taught to people. So a lot of people might also not get to know about these. If you're not in a research lab, for example, which has got a lot of productive scientists, you might never get to understand what exactly is the process of research. So rather than making it something which is very mysterious and dependent on unpredictable Eureka moments, there can be no concept of productivity. The very concept of productivity requires that you do something consistently and in a somewhat standardized way. So while searching the net, I came across this absolutely wonderful book by James Webb Young. He's the famous advertising guru in the early part of the 19th century. He wrote a book which was titled A Technique for Producing Ideas. The original audience for this book was young people in the advertising industry, and he wanted to demonstrate to people how you can actually take the process of generating ideas and processify it somewhat into a series of steps, standardized steps, which if followed is going to result in an idea. Now, this made to some extent a little bit of sense to me. Because, I mean, if you want to be creative and you want to be productive, you need to have a process. So, what is this process? And that is what is James Young's book. He basically distills the creative process of writing into a 5 step process. And to some extent, the examples are cited about the advertising industry. However, this process is as relevant for research in hard science, artificial intelligence, etc. Because in any discipline where ideas need to be generated, developed, and executed. Young differentiates between how we normally think of ideas as mysterious islands that suddenly appear in the South Seas. But actually, the scientist knows that the South Sea atolls are the work of millions of unseen corals which build up and lead finally to the appearance of an island. So, Young characterizes ideas to be similar as the result of a long series of unseen idea building steps and processes which can occur in a combination of consciously and subconsciously. He came to the conclusion that ideas are as much of an output of a process as are cars in an assembly line, which is amazing, absolutely, and so reassuring. According to him, the mind follows a distinct series of steps, which, when followed, can lead to the generation of ideas. He outlines a 5 step process, and it is really important to follow these steps. So here are these 5 steps in brief, and I will also give you my comments about as I tried them or what are my thoughts about them. Step 1 is gathering the raw materials. Now that's common sense actually, but Young really stresses this step. This is absolutely key, and according to him, this is the step which involves a lot of work and to some extent drudgery. And therefore, a lot of people trying to short circuit it. They try to skip ahead and they basically try and avoid it and jump straight to the maybe read a few references and then jump straight to inspiration stage or idea stage. What happens then is that it does not work and you basically hang around and get blocked and you procrastinate. So therefore, it is absolutely essential. Young emphasizes that it is important to be as comprehensive as possible in this particular phase. Now, this phase can vary according to what you're doing. He talks about consumers and collecting information about the product, the brand, the competitors, etc. But if you're doing research on a topic, it is basically the equivalent of collecting material on all your references, the important papers, the important methods, the books, etc. He also goes on to say that there are 2 types of materials which should be collected by people. The first one is specific materials. These are materials which are basically related to your topic. So, if you're an artificial intelligence, then it will be that specific stream of artificial intelligence which you are planning to research on. Basically, papers which are related to your particular specific area. The second thing is that what he called general material. Now, in the case of Young, he talks about things like, and advertisers need to know about all kinds of things, the economy and about the culture, about different niches, etc. Now, in the case of an artificial intelligence researcher, I can take this away to mean that you should be up to date with what's going on in your field beyond that narrow sliver that you're actually going to be researching on. So you're really following with the broad trends of what's happening in the area of artificial intelligence and maybe even the area of computing to some extent. So this was the first step. And Young also suggests that at this stage, categorizing your material is very important and tagging it appropriately. Of course, he suggests things like, a card system and all. But in today's world, we have tools such as Zotero and EndNote. So just use those. Now, the step 2 is digesting the material. Now, this is the second stage and it is a really difficult stage, I can assure you. He says this part of the process is difficult to describe. What he suggests is for you to pick up each piece of knowledge and to play with it and try connecting the dots and to try and see the relationship between disparate ideas. Now, this is really difficult to do in when you're in a research-related area where papers are typically written in a very linear fashion, beginning with introduction, survey of literature, methodology, etc. However, after countless attempts at trying to, try and work out approaches and interlinkages by doing it in a linear fashion, I've realized that in this particular stage, you need to really spend your time reading and just interrelating the ideas. You begin with an important reference, note down the ideas there, and then start trying to relate all the other stuff that you read to it. Now, this may mean that you may need to read a reference several times because you may once do it for the survey of literature. And then again, you may have to do it for the methodology section in case that's relevant. However, it is important that you do it as and when it's required. I have tried going through a reference in a linear fashion, beginning with the beginning and going right the way to conclusions. I do not recall a word. There was no interconnections that I could possibly make. It was all wasted effort. So there, it is important to do this thing, where he suggests you pick knowledge and you play with it, you correlate it, you look at it from different angles, etc. You essentially try to synthesize the knowledge and you see the relationship. At this point, if he also mentions that if you see some germs of ideas, note them down, and also don't stop, keep going. Push yourselves a little harder to keep going and with the reading and interrelating references and ideas. Sort of get your second wind and keep going. Essentially, only stop when your brain feels confused and the ideas are swirling around in your brain. The third step 3 is basically take a break. When you feel confused and everything and you're tired, you take a break, you take a walk, you do something entirely different, you read a novel, you go home and chat or play with your kids, or you go to sleep. Essentially, you give your subconscious time to work. So this is a nice step after the huge labor of step 1 and 2. Step 4 is even nicer because suddenly, and this is what Young says, suddenly an idea appears from nowhere. And when it appears, whenever it appears, if it's in the middle of the night or when you are sort of sitting around and having a cup of tea, you record it immediately. There are many such examples in science, in the history of science, where such things have happened. Archimedes was relaxing in a bath when he got the principle of flotation and he jumped up saying Eureka. Dmitri Mendeleev was obsessed with finding a logical way to organize chemical elements. He got the logical arrangement in a dream and he jumped up and he recorded it. And there are many, many other such instances. Then at this point, the only important thing is to record it. Step 5 is the final stage, which is working on the idea and polishing it. Now, this is really actually, again, we're back to hard work. The last two steps were nice and easy, and now we're back again to hard work. This is a hard work phase. Once your brilliant idea is generated, it still has to face the cold, hard light of day. When we take our idea to reality, we normally find there are many flaws in it. And it requires a lot of work to do to align your idea with all the possible problems that are there. However, you keep working at it. At this stage, the only thing that Young says is it is important to share your work. Do not keep it close to you. I mean, it's very tempting to, feel protective about your ideas, but you really have to release it. You have to get it out for publication, feedback from your colleagues, etc., etc. Once the idea, if it is a good idea, it will take wings. That is what Young calls it. He says that others will pick it up and they will start developing it, and that is an example of a really good idea. So, how did you like my processification or the my account of the process of doing research based on Young's five-step process? I really found it insightful. I found it so insightful. I thought I had to share it out to the world. I hope it helps somebody at least. Definitely, I mean, it has helped me. I have been making an effort. I'm in stage two basically, and I have been trying to now not just write notes, in a linear fashion, but to actually play around with ideas, which is quite difficult. It's really difficult to convince yourselves to do that. You just feel you're wasting time basically, and it's really difficult. But it is an essential thing. Anyway, do tell me about your experiences. I would love to hear in the comments. If you liked content like this, please do consider this is my subscribing to my YouTube channel, AI Economics. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments, and I will be uploading new videos, of course, as usual. Thank you.